This episode of the XtremeAg Show is presented by Concept AgriTek.
Cowboy is the game changer, getting it in through the leaves and into the plant circulatory system. That's why this product is so effective at delivering both calcium and boron to plants at critical times when they need it the most.
In the Yadkin Valley of North Carolina, Kevin Matthews faces some unique challenges. Fog from the nearby Yadkin River and high humidity means Kevin is in a constant battle against disease and fungus.
We're applying a foliar fertilizers, and what our goal is here today is, this is the fourth quarter of the ball game. Looks like we're doing real well, but we're not sure what the opponent's going to do. You're thinking, what's he talking about? Well, Mother Nature, of course. She can get kind of humbling you really quick. What we're after here is, we can't make no more soybeans than what's already out here. These things are at R4. But what we can do is make the soybeans bigger and a higher oil content, which is going to help make them heavier, a lot more nutritional for you. And that is what we're after. We're wanting to finish this game with all the effort that you can possibly have. We don't want to assume we got it won. We don't want to assume we got the best crop ever. And these are really good soybeans. I feel like they'll, if we continue to get decent rains, they'll easily be 100 bushels. But the question is, will they be 105 or will they be 110 or 120? And we got the equipment. We got the products now and the knowledge of how to use these products. So I'm rolling. And this is our second fungicide application that's going on these soybeans. We sprayed them earlier with a drone when it was too wet to get the sprayer in the field. And then the drone done a phenomenal job. The only reason we're not running it today is because we're running so many gallons of products in, and we're running a 15 gallon per acre mixture with our water as a carrier, and the drones are not at that capacity yet. They'll be there, but they're just not there right now. 2 applications of fungicide is normally, that's just not your standard in row crop farming. In produce, it's very common. You can do many applications. But where our location, we kind of have some call it a microclimate right in this river valley. And even as, during dry times, we will still experience several hours of leaf wetness from the fog rising off the river, the heavy dews in the morning and during the night. And it's just a breeding ground for diseases. In soybeans, we got frog eye leaf spot is always a big one. Then we get downy mildew, brown spot, and you name it. A lot of septoria can be just absolutely, it can be aggravating. If we get late season diseases come in, we've actually seen as much as a 30-40 bushel yield disadvantage, yield loss in an extreme situation. So a lot of the diseases are tested right here to see what products will work and won't work with them. And one thing we have to really be proactive. We probably go overboard a little bit. I will be the first to admit it. We probably do way more than we should. But on the flip side, we got to get all we can get. All I know is in my lifetime, we went from putting gallons an acre of stuff out to try to get weeds out, to now we're just putting an ounce per 43,560 square foot, sometimes a quarter ounce. And man, they have really made these crops safe for everybody now. So kind of good to know that my kids and grandkids, when we are blessed to have some, that's going to have such a good, safe food source.
Amino Grow is an exciting new product put out by Concept AgriTek. What we've seen is an increase in fruiting sites as well as branching, and this has equated to yield.
Spot less. Introducing the cleanup for tar spot, gray leaf spot, southern rust, and more. Novel next generation Adastrio fungicide from FMC broadens your spectrum and strengthens your residual foliar disease control. Protect your cornfields with a proprietary combination of 3 modes of action. Visit your FMC retailer or at astrio.ag.fmc.com to clean up this season.
In the heart of harvest, victory awaits. Introducing Demco's high-speed, all-wheel steer, combine header transport trailers. Crafted for strength, engineered for speed. Demco, tailored for victory.
Some farmers I know swear by a name. Say they'd never operate anything else. Well, here are a few names for my Fendt 900 tractor. Fuel Saver, Time Maximizer, Game Changer. I like those names.
BioHealth is a product by Concept AgriTek made up of a consortium of beneficial biology that actually colonize the plant and boost the plant's immune system from the inside.
It's, the windows are shaking, there's smoke in the car. That's the best part of it.
I can do this better than I can cook.
That's 10.
Oh, it's always a good time. It's always a good time. A little bit too much, it's a good time.
A lot of racing is who wants it the most, and you don't do the kind of racing we're doing when you're not passionate about it. So we are in Orlando, Florida. Last race of the year. The Buick is going into round 3 of qualifying. And we're sitting at number 16 right now. We're on the bump. They are only taking 16 cars. But we gotta show up, show out.
Mechanical troubles with Chad's car kept everyone turning wrenches until well after 1 in the morning. And they're still not done.
We had the motor tore apart, the transmission out. We had all this thing. We burnt and pinched a ring on the piston. So we had to pull it out, change it out, got the other piston in, put new rings on it, had the heads off, the blower off. All this stuff right here was off the motor. And then we had the transmission out, made a transmission change and a converter change.
It's one of them long adventures, but it's all about who can make it to the end of the marathon. It ain't a sprint. Like you think it's a drag race, but it's like who can not run out of parts. We've had a little bit of transmission trouble. We're working through that. A little bit of engine trouble, working through that. But one has caused the other one, so it ain't like anything's really bad. And it's part of a race car. Like if we wanted to come out here and not work on it, we'd go bracket racing, And but that's what we want to do. Like we bring ourselves this own punishment. Jackson, my son, is now racing the car that I built. But the car that I built to put on the street, when I went to this next car that's running 390s, I put that car in the garage. At 15, I give it to Jackson. And he's racing the car that we built, So this car is 25 years deep with his family. And it's still dragging folks to this day. And that's what's got us wrapped around family and racing and farming and so it's way more important than what you think it is.
There's so many things that can happen so quickly. Yes, I worry about it till they're off the track at the end. I'm good. When they make it off, I'm good. Oh, I love it. I mean, it's nerve-wracking because it is my husband and my son, but I love it. Love it. Wouldn't want to do anything else.
People don't remember all the good times. People always remember all the controversies you overcome. In your crop, when you remember things, you remember what you overcome to get something out of it. That's the stuff you remember. You don't remember the races that you just went to and everything worked good and everything went good and cranked right up and everything was good. You don't remember them. You remember the ones you had the motor out of it, pistons was laying on the ground, you put them back together and you won next round. That's the ones you want to remember, you know.
Well, racing's harder for me because I'm more hands-on with the racing than I am the farm. I only help on the farm when he calls and says, can you pull this here or haul this here or do this or bring food here? Yes, so this is harder, but this is a lot more fun.
There's no reason that we should still be racing. Like, we don't have an ego, we don't have anything to prove, you know. We're doing this for the people that surround us, the family that's involved.
But farming teaches you a lot about racing, like the patience and the endurance and the work ethic. All of that plays right into this role. Dedication for sure, because this would be very easy to quit and walk away from.
The race car has cost us, you know, a lot of money over the years, but no education is free. It's taught me about quality, it's taught me about nice things, it's taught me about workmanship, you know, it's taught me about patience. It's taught me about trials and frustrations. And you start putting that into your everyday life, whether it's at your home and your family, whether it's at your farm, whether it's at what you're growing for a crop. I mean, when you start putting that into perspective and the way you run your businesses and the way you run your life, this race car's taught me how to live.
Adding Raytheon into your in-fur application or even an over-the-top application around V3, V4 can do wonders in helping that plant navigate tough soil conditions as far as nutrient tie-up is concerned.
Control the toughest weeds with overlapping residuals. Lock in the longest-lasting control for your soybean fields. Authority brand herbicides, such as Authority Edge herbicide and Authority Supreme herbicide, combine the industry's most effective Group 14 and 15 active ingredients for a clean start and long-lasting residual control. Following up 14 to 28 days later with a post-application of Anthem Max herbicide through V6 establishes a heavy-duty, economical, overlapping residual program.
Claims are good and all, but I'm more interested in results. My Fendt Momentum planter delivers them. The only planter with automatic tire pressure adjustments, weight transfer across its frame, and inline center tandem wheels that eliminate pinch rows. It's just another way I know Fendt's got my bottom line top of mind.
Introducing Demco's newest dual auger grain cart design. Now equipped with the front folding auger and available in right side or left side unload options. Featuring Demco's corner auger design for optimal visibility. With a 22-inch vertical auger, unload at speeds of 600 bushels per minute. Demco. Outpace harvest time every time.
Sweet Success has been in the product lineup of Concept AgriTek for a while. We've seen it do a lot of things that you wouldn't think a blackstrap molasses product would do. Anytime you can increase the bricks content of your plant, the more healthy it's going to be.
All right, Bert, well, here we are. We're out here in the sorghum field. I don't know anything about this crop. This one kind of got brought up because we got farms that got tremendous amounts of deer damage.
Right.
And we needed to be able to get around it. There was a market that I could get into. So here we are, we're growing it. I don't know nothing about it. I treated it pretty much like corn. So this was actually planted July 1st.
Okay.
So we planted it with no fertility in the planter, no infer on the planter. So we had to do things differently. So we adapted to it. So we waited till it came up, and it was, I don't even know the stages. I can't say that it was V3 because I have no idea, but it was about that tall. And we stream barred fertility on top of it. Now it did burn it a fair amount, but we went out with a little bit of N and a tiny bit of P, no K in it, a little bit of micros in there. We mixed that in there because I'm so used to blending micros in my N furrow, and I was trying to facilitate all of the above. I was trying to treat it like corn. So we went out with that, and then we waited for it to grow a little bit. We took some tissue samples. I was really, really low in phosphorus. I was low in potassium because I didn't get any out there. So we came back in. So the side dress pass, what I would be making a side dress with, and I'd be wide dropping, with corn, couldn't do that. So we said, how are we going to fix this? So we went over the top with a dry program, and we treated that fertility on it to try to drive some of it into the plant. Now, did it work? Yes, it absolutely worked. We got it into the plant. I think I got a halfway decent crop out of here. I don't know anything about it. What I will tell you is not being able to do things the way that I'm used to doing with corn. I relied on a heavy foliar fertility program.
Right.
So I've made we're standing in a sprayer track right now. I've made 4 passes on this with nothing but foliar fertility. So that's how I've tried to keep ahead. And I don't know if I'm, after growing this crop the first time, I'm not sure whether I've spent too much money on it, and this is kind of a trial for me. If I can get this to work, I have a lot of different farms that this year I'm planting wheat in right now as we speak on heavily deer damaged farms that I know that grow good wheat. And if we can follow with this, we got a whole nother avenue that I can get into. So like, more about milo than what I know. Tell me something about this crop.
Well, it is a very, very tough crop. You have to remember that the parent of this crop came from the African continent. Sorghum as a whole, grown in the United States, primarily it's for animal feeds, which is why we have the different colors. This is going to be more of a bronze, not the deep red like we have in the South. And this variety that they're wanting you to grow is going to work for what they're wanting to do with it.
Right.
The other thing that comes out of these crops is that you can actually make sorghum molasses out of it. There's a lot of sugars that are stored in the stalk of this crop. And the old timers, and where I live in Mississippi, would always plant 3 to 5 acres of it. And then in the fall, they would come in, they would lay it over with a sickle bar, gather it up, run it through a little mill press that basically grind everything up, take all the juice, put it in a pot, reduce it down, boil all the water out of it, and they had sorghum molasses.
So I've heard guys where they, after they cut it, and they get rid of the grain, it makes tremendous cattle feed. Like these cattle, they can either cut it all the way down with a sickle or a hay bind, disc bind, whatever, and then they'll come in and they can bale it, or they just background cattle on it and let them eat it down just like we background cattle on corn stalks and cover crop wheat.
Right.
You look down these rows, it's a massive amount of, fodder or biomass that's here.
You can have a high yield on grain sorghum, but if you don't have good grain quality, then it's pretty much a wasted endeavor. You want good, heavy test weight grain sorghum specifically for what you're wanting to do with it, because it just lends for a better quality ingredient. But it's the same thing for feed value as well, because having the potassium and the calcium and the boron packs the protein in this.
Okay.
And that's,
so it's pretty much a very similar program. Remember we talked about the late season pass on corn yesterday, and I didn't do it here, but I did it on my corn. We added calcium, pretty heavy loads of it in the tail end. And I think that is attributed to some of the yields that I'm seeing in those different GDUs, you know what I mean? And maybe next year I need to start thinking about fine tuning that in the sorghum production as well. So we learned a ton of stuff about sorghum so far this year. Thanks so much for coming out. We're gonna see where this crop takes us.
Go long for season-long foliar disease protection that starts at plant. Active ingredient flutriafol moves through your corn plants as they grow for inside-out protection from roots to tassel. A single at-plant application provides comparable performance in corn yield protection to that of VTR1 foliar fungicides against diseases like gray leaf spot, northern corn leaf blight, common rust, and more.
Some farmers I know swear by a name, say they'd never operate anything else. Well, here are a few names for my Fendt 900 tractor. Fuel Saver, Time Maximizer, Game Changer. I like those names.
If you've paid attention to what we're talking about at XtremeAg, you might be asking the question, what are these things called GDUs and why do they matter? GDU, Growing Degree Unit, or sometimes called Growing Degree Day. It's a unit of measurement really to discuss heat. You know, corn plants, soybean plants need lots of sun. So let's say you're cloudy, cold for a long time, you're missing out on critical growing degree units. The equation is actually pretty simple. It's the daily high temperature plus the daily low temperature divided by 2, and you subtract 50. Now you know your growing degree days. It turns out it takes about 125 growing degree units for a corn plant to even emerge from the soil. Going through the plant's life cycle, certain numbers of GDUs will dictate when these things happen. For a plant, corn or soybean crop, to reach its full potential, it needs the adequate amount of GDUs. Too many days of cloudy and cold equal a bottom line deduction of yield. Now you understand what a growing degree unit is and why we talk about it.
It changes everything, so says Indiana corn grower Nathan Davis about innovative Xyway LFR fungicide from FMC. Xyway brand fungicides are the first and only at-plant corn fungicides to provide unprecedented season-long inside-out foliar disease protection.
Precision is understanding the potential hidden within. Decoding the specific nutritional needs of your crop. Maximizing every nutrient and getting the most out of your yield. We break down the science in a way that works for your crops and for you. Apply less and expect more with Precision Crop Nutrition from Agro Liquid.
In the heart of harvest, victory awaits. Introducing Demco's high-speed, all-wheel steer, combine header transport trailers. Crafted for strength, engineered for speed. Demco, tailored for victory.
So hydrogen is another essential nutrient that we don't pay a lot of attention to. One part is because it's pretty readily available within the world we live in. If you think of water, H2O, so 2 hydrogen atoms with an oxygen atom. So that's why water is kind of critical for plants. It's where it gets most of its hydrogen from. There's also things we've learned in the last couple of years that the plants can pull hydrogen from other sources that are available to it. You know, ammonium, it's another form of nitrogen, which doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's NH4. So it's got 4 hydrogens with a nitrogen. So the plant can pull that out with it. get is hydrogen. Another neat thing we've learned about hydrogen is it's soluble in soil too, so you can pull hydrogen up through the soil, typically through the ammonium molecule. But why is hydrogen important to the plant? Well, it's critical in the glucose formation of the plant's life. Glucose is one of the main sugars. The plant deals with plant energy, so it uses a lot of spots within the plant to move energy around, or it's the main energy molecule that the plant uses. So it's part of that glucose molecule chain. So it's got to be there for glucose to be made, and glucose is the most important energy molecule of the plant. If we're not producing glucose, we're not producing yield. It's pretty simple in my world, the way I look at it. We can apply hydrogen. Probably the most famous or most common known one is the anhydrous ammonia, which is NH3. So that's a nitrogen with 3 hydrogen atoms that we apply a lot of, in the Midwest, you apply a lot of anhydrous ammonia for their nitrogen source. So that's where we get a lot of hydrogen from there. Hydrogen is important in pH. If you look at, pH, that's the balance of hydrogen within plant or soil. So we pay a lot of attention to hydrogen in other terms. As far as plant nutrition, it probably doesn't get as much press as everything else, but it's got a lot of functionality within the environment of a plant's life. The only way in my mind that I would look at deficiency is lack of water, because H2O, where it gets most of its hydrogen from, is water. So if we're short on water, you're gonna be short on hydrogen, typically. So it's one of those deals. So the main 3 nutrients that make up the plant, carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, we don't really pay a lot of attention to because they're so abundant in the environment that we farm in that it's not a big concern. But I think as a farmer, as an industry, we've lacked the knowledge of what they actually do and understand how that all works in the ecosystem of a plant's life. I think it's very valuable for guys to understand how that works. Not only the plant, but the soil, so we know what's going on. Hydrogen is very important. It is 6% of what the plant's made of. So if you add oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen together, that's 95% of what the plant's made of is those 3 elements that we don't really talk about a lot and or apply a lot of nutrients because Mother Earth gives us a lot of those available to it. So it's probably the next thing behind the carbon and oxygen. The other 5% are everything else everybody worries about, but hydrogen is important, and really in that glucose formation, that's where it's really critical.